When two things are legendary, when you have one thing that's at the top of its category and another thing that's at the top of its category, how do you compare them? When one thing is peak, you might say, and another thing's peak, how do you compare them? One thing could be a 10 out of 10, and another thing could be at a 10 out of 10. Which one's the better 10? I think Michael Jordan and LeBron are the best representation of this. They're both the GOATs of their era, but who's the better GOAT? How do you find that out? The Sasuke Retrieval arc from Naruto and the Soul Society arc from Bleach are perfect representations of this in anime arcs. They're both rescue arcs in anime, and they are both arcs that belong to anime that are in the big three in Naruto and Bleach. They are both legendary. Obviously, which one is better? Now, the most important thing to remember is these are rescue arcs in shonen anime. So the most important things in these arcs, they gotta have fights, gotta have elite fights, gotta have boxing. The stakes and tension have to be high because they're rescue arcs, and the story is very important. The character development and pacing are also very important. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rank both of these arcs in these 5 categories on a scale from 1 to 10 for each of them, and see which one gets the higher total at the end, and that's going to be the winner. Okay, quick spoiler warning for anybody who hasn't watched either of these arcs yet, because let's just get this out of the way quick. Both shows are getting a 10 out of 10 for stakes and tension. I ain't gonna lie. They basically, what they did was they took the second most important, second most seen character, the main character's best friends. Both shows, by the way, did this, and put them in harm's way, whereas Rukia's life was on the line. She was basically going to get murdered, get killed, and Sasuke was either going to die to Orochimaru or get sent to the side of evil, which nobody wanted to see as the main character's best friends. So the stakes were basically never as high in both shows, so they both get a 10 out of 10 in both these arcs, and we're gonna go straight to the story next. Now here's where it gets really interesting, because they got 2 different types of stories. We're gonna start with Naruto here, start with the Sasuke Retrieval arc, which has a very simple but effective story. See, the problem when people hear a simple story, they think, oh, it's not as good. See, that's the problem with your mindset, because sometimes simple can be better. See, here's what they did, right? They took Sasuke, Naruto's main rival, built up their relationship, their rivalry throughout the whole entire show up until this point. And what they did was they took his character and moved it to the villain side and said, yes, now you have to face this character, but on a way higher scale. You have to try and rescue a character, your rival, who doesn't even want to be rescued himself. He chose this path. Now you have to try and do this. And if you don't succeed, he's getting in the hands of the biggest villain in the show at this point in time. See, it's so simple, yet it works so perfectly, as these kids who basically at this point now have to grow up and go on this mission to try and save their friend. And they grow up and turn from boys to men. And for that reason alone, although it's simple, it's so effective. I'm giving the story an 8 out of 10. Yes. Now the Soul Society, on the other hand, also starts out simple. It starts out like a regular rescue arc. Like, you would think, like, okay, Ichigo and friends are just going to the Soul Society to save Rukia, and they have to go up against the Gote 13, which is basically 13 different head captains and their lieutenants. And yeah, they're basically just gonna have to beat all these dudes up, save Rukia, and get out of there. But as you get deeper into the arc, you see there's some beef between some of the captains. Like, some of them look chill and like honorable, but then some of them just look evil, like Gin and Byakuya. Then you get further into the arc and you see Aizen get murked. Aizen get murdered. And you like, oh, so they beef really like that. So then you get more beef, more infighting. Momo, Aizen's lieutenant, trying to fight captains, Hitsugaya and Gin, you like, yo, this is crazy. Then you get further and deeper into the arc towards the end of the arc, and you see this dude Aizen faked his death with the power of his sword. What? What? I'm sorry, but to keep a long story short, you don't drop a story arc with this many peak characters. You don't introduce that many good characters with that many plot twists, that many good fights. That just doesn't happen. Like, that's new. And like, all in a rescue arc, that just doesn't happen. You don't see that. The only thing I can say about the arc is, I ain't gonna lie, it doesn't really affect the viewing experience on the first watch. But if you get further into the show and you look back on the arc, it will affect the arc a little bit. I ain't gonna lie, there is some cap in there. Like, let's keep it a bean. There's no way Ichigo lost to Ichigo draw with Kenpachi. There's 100% no way Ichigo draw with Kenpachi. Let's keep it a bean. That dude was nowhere near strong enough to draw with Kenpachi, yo. Come on, let's stop it. Let's stop the cap right now.
Stop the cap.
Stop the cap right now, yo. But, hey, man, at the end of the day, I'm giving the story for the Soul Society a 10 out of 10. I'm sorry. It's just, you don't do that. That just doesn't happen, man.
Now, here we go. Here's where we get into it, man. The fights, the boxing.
And I'm including moments in here as well. And we're starting with the Sasuke Retrieval arc. And oh my gosh, did they not miss? Was the writer Kishimoto absolutely cooking when it came to this arc, bro? Let me tell you, how do you start on episode 1 and give us the Naruto Sasuke hospital fight? They was boxing. They were boxing, man. Bro, I'm just going to list. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to list off these fights and just say they were boxing, bro. Sasuke, the Sound Ninja pulled up on Sasuke. He's sitting in the trees. They pulled up on him. They boxed. Underrated fight. They formed the squad. Choji versus Chirobo. He gets the butterfly wings. They box. Neji versus Kitamaru. Boxing. 8 Trigams, 64 palms. 128 palms. That man was boxing. Fighting mad spiders flying from the ground, bro. Oh my gosh. Tactical fight. Shikamaru versus Tayuya. Oh my gosh. Shikamaru's mind is just massive, dog. His mind is massive. How does he do it every time? I don't know. I don't know. Now, the only fight, I will admit, I ain't gonna like keep his fight. He wasn't boxing like that. He did a lot of running. So I'm not gonna include it. I'm not gonna glaze. I'm not gonna glaze. Lee! Drunken Fist! Peak boxing! When I tell you, that's some of my favorite hands right there in all of anime that I've seen. Like, I rewatched the fight, and the hands that Drunken Lee was giving Kimimaro in that fight was crazy, dog. Lee was going crazy right off an injury. We just watched this man have surgery. His career was supposed to be over. He could have died. Came back and gave us a legendary boxing performance, man. Who does that? Then Gar comes and saves him. Gar saves Lee after he's the one who hurt him. Oh my god. Peak cinema. Like, and then Gar comes and Gar versus Kimimaro. They was boxing. And then, bro, do I have to say more? The Final Valley. Do I have to say more, yo? Naruto versus Sasuke, the Final Valley straight. That's legendary hands. That's a top fight in anime. Forever go down the Hall of Fame. Do I have to say more? 10 out of 10. Move on to Bleach. Come on, yo. Hold on, before I move on, I said I was including moments in there. I only talked about fights. I got a little bit too excited, I ain't gonna lie. But the Kakashi speech to Sasuke when he was sitting in the trees, that's legendary right there. I ain't gonna lie, that John's tough.
Everyone you're talking about has already been killed.
Sasuke saying his goodbye, thank you for everything, Sakura. That John is legendary, I ain't gonna lie. The formation of the squad, of the Sasuke Retrieval squad, their pose right there. Naruto's promise to Sakura. But there's legendary moments after legendary moments in this arc, man, bro. 10 out of 10. I just had to say that before we moved on. The Soul Society didn't disappoint either. It may start out a little slower, but once they start boxing, This man Ichigo was on a legendary run. He fought Ikaku, then he fought Renji, then he draw with Kenpachi, and then he gets his Bankai and fights Byakuya. Oh my god, bro. Peak after peak after peak after peak, and every fight gets better and better. Uryu fought a captain. Elite fight, very underrated fight. Chad, I ain't gonna lie, underwhelming performances. He did fight some scrubs. He did, but he got washed when he fought a captain. I ain't gonna lie, he got absolutely washed. But we're not done here, because although I will say the Soul Society didn't have as many peak fights as the Sasuke Retrieval arc, their moments were so good, and that's why I had to put moments into this, because if I didn't put moments into this section, it would be like doing the Soul Society so dirty, because you got moments where Yoruichi and Byakuya are going flash step for flash step. Freaking Gin and Hitsugaya are about to fight. They go at it for a little bit, and then Momo steps in and fights Hitsugaya when she's mad because she thinks Aizen is dead. But these are legendary moments. Kenpachi fought 2 captains at once. He's a dog. He's a freaking dog. Even when Gin met them at the entrance when they were trying to get into the Soul Society, bro, I'm like, oh my gosh, they so tough, bro. And this dude Aizen stopped Ichigo's theme song. Who does that? Who stops a character's theme song? Who does that? But as much as I'm glazing right now, I will say you have to remember the Soul Society is longer than the Sasuke Retrieval arc, and I don't think it's hard to say this because they have so many good moments, so many good fights. Yoruichi vs Soifon as well, another great fight. They have so many like great moments and fights, but I think in the amount of episodes that it had, it didn't really match up consistently with what the Sasuke Retrieval gave us. And also, like, if you go for the best fight, compared to the best fight, Naruto Sasuke at the Hidden Valley, Final Valley, I mean, is a legendary fight. And I don't think the best fight in the Soul Society holds up to that. And that's why I'm giving fights in Soul Society a 9 out of 10. I hope that's not a hot take. I hope y'all not mad at me for that. But, hey, man, it's hard. It's hard. Alright, I'm gonna hurry up and get pacing out the way before we talk about character development. I didn't feel like it made sense to talk about this in the beginning of the video, but I'm giving them both a 10 out of 10. I'm sorry. Like, both of these arcs have very little low moments. Like I said, with the Sasuke Retrieval arc, I think the Kiba fight is a little bit of a low moment. And then, like I said earlier with the Soul Society, it may start out a little slow, but like once it gets really into the arc, there's really no slow moments. Especially in the Soul Society, like, because they're always, like, when there's, like, a down moment, they're revealing more information, like, more plot twists to you that you really didn't think about before. And there's also a really good training arc in the Soul Society as well. Like, there's really no down moments in the Sasuke Retrieval arc. It's not as long. There's no really down moments. There's just fight after fight after, like, peak after peak after peak. You even have the Itachi flashbacks in there, which is a very good flashback. The only thing is, like, Kiba, but I'm giving them both that 10 out of 10 for pacing. It's amazingly well done. Now, last but not least, we get to talk about the character development. And starting with the Sasuke Retrieval arc, boy, did they come crazy. Oh my gosh, is the Sasuke Retrieval arc just chock full of character development. Man, oh man, oh man. We gotta start with Naruto. Naruto, who gave Sakura this huge promise to bring Sasuke back. He has to come to terms with defeat for the first time. Like, you really think about this dude Naruto really didn't lose like that throughout OG Naruto. He didn't lose. Up until this point, he loses to Sasuke. He lost. He didn't fulfill his promise, and he had to come to terms and accept that. And he shows the growth enough to not only accept that, but to say he's still not giving up on the promise, and they'll still bring Sasuke back. Sasuke has to watch Naruto grow and outpace him in terms of progress throughout this whole time, and he has to come to terms with, what can I do? What else can I learn from these guys in order to fulfill my goals? He had to put himself first. I don't know if you want to call this character developer or not, but he had to make a tough choice of, is this the place I really want to be at? Is this the place that's best for me to accomplish my dreams? Can I go to evil and still do what I want to do? He had to come to terms with that. Then you have characters like, oh my gosh, this is the most development they've ever given the side character. Shikamaru, the shirker, the lazy character who finally gets his call to action. He gets brought up to Chunin. He has to become a squad leader, platoon leader for the first time in his career. He's supposed to be lazy, but no, because a friend's life is on the line, he steps up and he says, yes, we're going to do this. And he turns from a lazy guy into a leader. And not only that, he also, just like Naruto, has to come to terms with defeat, because his first mission as squad leader was a loss. And that scene where he's talking to Tamari and his father, and they basically tell him off, and he says the next mission will go perfectly. That's just, come on, man. The growth in that is so crazy. And you have Choji, A character who's the butt of everyone's jokes. Scaredy cat. He just like to eat. He has to step up and fight a death match. A death one-on-one. Even somebody like that, it gains friends that believe in him. Like, bro, it's beautiful to see. Neji has to fight somebody who's stronger than him, who's more of a genius than him, who thinks like him. He has to fight somebody and overcome that and break his destiny. Everything that he was talking about with Naruto. Oh my gosh. Lee has to overcome his injury and fight Gora. Gora, the literal demon who couldn't understand saving somebody. Couldn't understand when Guy stepped in to save Lee. Literally does the same thing and saves Lee. If that's not character development, I don't know what else is, man. Let's go. 10 out of 10. Come on. See, now the thing with the Soul Society is it's kind of hard to have as much character development as the Sasuke Retrieval arc. When that arc was ending OG Naruto and the Soul Society was kind of just starting Bleach pretty much. So it's kind of hard to have as much character development as that other arc. So that's why context really matters. But the thing that Bleach really did here, and I don't know if I'm cheating here, is introduce so many good characters. But Ichigo, let me just talk about Ichigo's development first. This is really where you see Ichigo's determination and his will, basically to never back down. Kind of similar to Naruto's, but in a sense that he's never just gonna back down when his friends are in danger. This is really where you see that from Ichigo, where Ruki is in danger and all his friends are in danger. He's never backing down from a fight, from a training arc that seems impossible. He's never going to back down. And you see that from Ichigo. But here's what I'm gonna do, because when there's new characters, you can develop them, but not to the sense of characters that have been in the story for so long. The character development's not gonna be the same. So I'm just going to list off the peak characters that Bleach just dropped in this arc, because there's no arc that really does this, man. And they all have their own stories and different. I feel like that's developing themselves to introduce and drop a character and to make them so complex in the arc that they came in. To do that with so many different characters, I think that's development in itself. I may be cheating here, but hey, Ichigo, Uryu, Orihime. Chad sucks. I'm not going to talk about Chad. Then you get the captains and lieutenants. Soifon, Byakuya, Ranji, Gin, Aizen, Captain 12, I can't say his name, Kenpachi, the lieutenants, Rangeku. Oh, I didn't even talk about Hitsugaya, Momo. Like, what? Kisuke, Urahara, Yoruichi. Like, what? What arc does this? I don't know. Like, I don't know what arc really does that. What arc drops that many characters, man? I don't know. Ikaku. That's just, for that, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Respectfully, I'm sorry, I just have to. Okay, now if we add up all the scores from all the ratings, Naruto got an 8 in story, a 10 in pacing, a 10 in character development, a 10 in stakes, and a 10 in fight slash moments. And the Soul Society arc got a 10 in story, a 10 in pacing, a 9 in character development, a 10 in stakes slash tension, and a 9 in fights slash moments, which adds up to 28 for both of them. So yes, it is a draw. I know. A draw is not what we want to see here, but that's really truly how I feel about both of these arcs. I feel like depending on the day, one is higher than the other, but at the end of the day, they're right next to each other in the rankings. And that's genuinely how I feel. I want to know how y'all feel, though. What is the better rescue arc? The Sasuke Retrieval arc or the Soul Society arc? Man, thanks for watching. Thanks for making it through this longer video that I'm dropping. I'm still getting used to making these type of discussion videos, but make sure you like, comment, subscribe, lock in with me on the YouTube journey, and yeah, I'll catch y'all in the next one, man.